information tonight, although I have to say that I have, doing a radio talk show, I have an opportunity to talk to a lot of Americans across this country, and I have heard phone call after phone call in recent days since Arizona has taken this issue on a state level, that one of the big things and one of the big issues for American workers is that they are losing jobs to undocumented workers. Now, that's not left, it's not right, it's not center, it's the way it is. And if you have workers flooding our market, somebody isn't going to be working. And it is all about cheap labor. You have the Republicans over here who absolutely love cheap labor, and I'm not quite sure I buy the argument that this is some kind of a strategy that the Democrats are using so they can get more people and get more votes. I'm not in that camp. Let's turn now to Congressman Brian Bilbray, who is the chairman of the Immigration Reform Caucus. Congressman, good to have you with us tonight. You're from San Diego, and I have been down in San Diego, and I would venture to say that if you were to take all the undocumented workers out of San Diego, you wouldn't have a restaurant industry. Is that a fair statement?
Well, Ed, I was born and raised literally on the border, so I have to say that the great majority of foreign-born individuals who are working, most of our businesses, especially service, are legal. We've got the advantage that we're able to have people come across the border legally, work through the day, and go back. So our real problem is the violence, the crime, and the related costs to that gets over there. So, you know, somebody that has grown up with this issue, I got to tell you, it is kind of frustrating the way everybody wants to play brinksmanship here, but they don't want to admit a lot of the terrible truths here. More people die every year trying to come into this country illegally than were killed in the Oklahoma explosion, but everybody's hungry for the cheap labor. I think that you're legitimate, that a lot of this driving is because you got businesses that want to exploit cheap labor, and that's the number one source of illegal immigration. If we did more to crack down on those employers like Congressman Schulz wants to do, we really could nip this in the bud.
All right, Congressman, this crosses all party lines. I think we found some common ground here. You think that it is imperative, maybe that's too strong a word, but how would you describe what do we have to do as a country to go after those who are writing the checks for the cheap labor to the undocumented workers? I don't care what party you're in. It's wrong, it's against the law, and it's creating a problem. Would you go along with that?
Absolutely, and Ed, the way we do it is the way that Congressman Schulz, a Democrat from North Carolina, and many Democrats and Republicans sign on to the SAVE Act, and that is use the E-Verify that the federal government and even Congress. And let me tell you, if Congress can use a system, anybody can use it. President Obama just implemented for all federal contractors, and it's a quick, simple way of knowing who's legal and who's not legal to work in this country. And once you do that, you separate those employers who may accidentally hire somebody from those who are purposely doing it, and then you can really crack down on these guys. But the problem is it's just being held up. We can do this bipartisan if you allow us to get it done.
All right. Well, I'll allow you to get it done. I think it's long overdue. But I think it's interesting that all of a sudden it's boiled to this point in Arizona. I mean, it's been this way for years, as you just said. So why wasn't this done on President Bush's watch? It almost as if they're trying to target this problem because they don't like President Obama. At least that's my perspective. But let me ask you, we're starting to see some copycat legislation. Utah, Colorado, Texas, even Ohio is talking about this. Is this the right way to go? Don't you think this sets the table for racial profiling?
Well, Ed, actually, we do this under a federal program called 287G all over this country. And you got to remember, when you read the law, you got to take a look at it. But it says that you can only use probable cause if you have a legal contact. In other words, you pull over somebody in a van, and all at once 35 people next to the border runs out.
Okay.
That a law enforcement officer is going to think it's suspicious.
Is the president wrong? I mean, the president thinks, and the example that he gave was that you might be in this country for a long time, and all of a sudden you might be targeted by law enforcement. You think the president's overreaching on that?
I don't think the president's read the bill. The president is implementing the G program across this country. So I think if the president takes the time, as Dan Lundgren, who was a former Attorney General of California, read it and said, boy, this is nothing like what is being claimed it is. And so I think once the president looks at it, the quotes and the conditions conditions in this bill were actually taken right from the Supreme Court rulings that condition when an officer can make contact or not. You have probable cause is by far the constitutional way, and that's why it's important that the governor institutes the training.
Reasonable suspicion and probable cause are two different things. I'm out of time in this segment. Got to have you back to talk more about it. I appreciate you joining us tonight, Congressman. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and keep standing up for the working class jobs. Okay?
It is about the working folks. There's no doubt about it. I mean, it's all about fairness, and it's about protecting the laws, but not having racial profiling. I think we can reach it. Coming up, Fox